Your anniversary since the Bitcoin halving. I'm here with Crypto Sully, and we're talking these questions about what's going on in the crypto space. This past week, we've had a lot of. It's been an uneventful week to say the least, but there's always good things happening, and I believe that we've just experienced what's true every single year after the post Bitcoin halving, except for maybe the exception of 1 year, that Bitcoin is significantly higher than the previous year. I think we were we were way below 60K last year, right at this time. I don't even remember. It was really so long ago. I remember like it was yesterday, but I also don't remember the exact price of Bitcoin. I was more focused on, the Bitcoin halving just happening, and then we go from there. But let's start with the first question, Sully. Sully, you look confused. You okay?
No, I'm just looking at the chart there, just looking at the
Yeah,
comparison.
yeah, don't worry,
So you
don't
said
worry about it.
something
This is
about
Yeah,
64K.
but don't worry about that. We're not gonna talk about that. Let's talk about the future. Let's talk about right now and the future. So
Mm.
we celebrate. We appreciate and respect all religions. We've done a series on Ramadan with Sully. Now it's Easter Sunday, so I'm fasting. It's began yesterday. Good Friday is today, and I'm breaking fast tomorrow evening, God willing. So let's start with the first question, and we can go either way you want. We can go back and forth. I can give my analysis first, then you can give your analysis. We'll see what happens from there. So, although you just went black, by the way. I'm not sure what happened with your camera. Are you still there?
Oh
You
shoot.
went black for a second. Yeah, you went black for a second. I'm not sure
Yeah,
what happened.
that's
I
fine.
can hear you now. I
Yeah,
can see you
I'm
now. Yeah.
ready.
So now, ready. Bitcoin having impact. How has the Bitcoin having on April 2024 influenced Bitcoin's price and miner behavior? And what long-term effects are we seeing in 2025? Keep that in mind. I'm gonna go first. This is my opinion, at least. It influenced it like it always does. Reduced mining rewards made it more difficult for a lot of the Bitcoin miners to actually may survive the whole year last year. So some of them had to turn off their machinery for a little bit. And it did influence price in the fact that we've seen it play out. Sure, we also had other factors like the ETF, but the ETF happened in January last year in the United States, where I listed in the stock market. And the Bitcoin halving actually happened in April 19th in the US, April 20th UTC in your time in London. So we've obviously seen the same pattern play out again. However, there was a little difference. Usually, the price of Bitcoin spikes and hits an all-new time high. You remember this, I believe.
Mm.
The after the halving last year, it actually did it 6 months before the halving because of the ETF. So it's been, and we've hit it a few times after the post-Trump election. So I think that the actual Bitcoin halving itself was a non-event for the price. However, it did affect the miners in that they have to buy new equipment and there's more computing power to get less rewards. Your opinion?
Yeah. So in terms of like what I thought about like the Bitcoin having, was it? Just to double check.
I'll repeat the question.
Oh, the long term effects of it. Oh, I see.
Yeah, Bitcoin having
Um,
impact. How has the Bitcoin having in April 2024 influenced Bitcoin's price and miner behavior? And what long-term effects are we seeing in 2025?
well, so it's kind of like obviously it's been harder to generate more in terms of the number of the tokens you can like the rewards you can get from it. So, however, it has like kind of like stabilized. I mean, after like 1 month, it did go down a little bit, so it became a bit more volatile. But after a while, it eventually like stabilized it earlier this year. So, and the long term effects would be that like it's going to slowly start to become more stable with the Bitcoin and potentially rise in price because if you compare it from that price point when the halving happened, it was at roughly 64,000, 65,000, and now it's at 85,000. So a 20,000 difference in price.
And keep in
And
mind that people are
if you
still
look at
freaking out.
things,
Just keep in mind people are freaking out, right? Because I always say when in doubt, zoom out. If you zoom out, if you would have bought Bitcoin January 1st, or let's just say April 19th last year was 64,000, right now you're gonna be at $85,000. That's actually a good, right? Or if you bought Bitcoin back in 2021 or 2020 or 2022, you'd actually be
mm,
in the green and by a large margin. So my thing is that people are freaking out, but they're not zooming out. How are you going to freak out an asset that you put, let's say, $10,000, it went up to 190,000, you doubled your money, you're in the green, and now you're upset that it went down a little bit. I think that's just human greed, but I think that in the long term we're seeing it play out like it's always played out, and I think that the main thing that we're going to be focusing on the next couple of months is two things: regulatory clarity in the United States. The government passed stablecoin legislation and we get the ETFs, exchange traded funds on the stock market for altcoins, not just Bitcoin, Ethereum, but you're going to have all other altcoins. And I'll talk on that in my next question. But it's playing out, the Bitcoin halving itself is playing out like it's played out the last cycles. There is no significant difference. One, you get their increases in price, decreases in price, but long term, a year after, a year out, generally speaking, it's always much higher than the previous year. So that is a
Absolutely.
great segue into my second question. Market volatility. The crypto market has seen significant volatility in 2024 and 2025, with Bitcoin dropping to under $85,000 and altcoins like Ethereum and Sol falling to 20 to 50%. What factors are driving this, and is the market stabilizing in 2025? My belief is that Ethereum has a problem that it didn't have before. In 2020, for example, it was Bitcoin. Then you had a few forks of Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin this, Bitcoin that. Then you had Dogecoin, Litecoin, Monero for security, and almost everything was an ERC20 token, which means it ran in the Ethereum network. So when Ethereum ran, when they say that first Ethereum runs and the rest of the market runs in altcoin season, that's because everything was an ERC20 token. So if Ethereum ran, all the other ERC20 tokens ran. That was common sense. Now you have millions of tokens, and Ethereum has a problem. Not only did I have Cardano before, Cardano, sure, it was the Ethereum killer, but now you have Solana and Sui, which actually do take market cap away and have taken a significant market cap away from Ethereum in the past year and a half. It's outperformed Ethereum by like 70, 80%. It's amazing. It's crazy. Like Bitcoin, Solana has been hitting all-time highs as Ethereum dominance has been declining in the market. And then you had Sui as well. And
Mm.
Sui basically said that they took the Sun Sui, the Chinese, the enemy of my enemy is my friend tactic, or basically a teamed up with Solana on a lot of programs like their Phantom wallet. So this is really hurting Ethereum. So again, in my opinion, you're seeing Bitcoin stabilize because the bigger the market cap, the less volatility you're going to see, especially to the downside in the long term. With altcoins, you're not going to see the same exact altcoin season you've seen before, where it's just basically Ethereum and a handful of ERC20 tokens pumping. You might start seeing Ethereum increasingly decline, and you might start seeing other projects actually have volatility to the upside. And you're not going to just be able to do what you did in 2020 and just shoot darts at a board and just pick a cryptocurrency project. Oh, I'll put $1,000 in and make a million. That's not going to happen. However, it
Mm.
will happen if you're strategic about it. Your opinion?
Yeah, I totally agree with you on points on there, and it's a quite a good way to explain how things will change in terms of its market volatility. And yeah, you're right. It's likely that the markets will like stabilize, but in terms of its performance with altcoins, Ethereum, um, there's a slight change with Ethereum and Bitcoin at the moment, where um, there's been a larger drop in comparison to Bitcoin. But a lot of people they follow on from what's it called now with how Bitcoin performs overall. Um,
I call
so
it the
so
Bitcoin. I
if
call it the Bitcoin index because like a lot of bankers like to say there's an
mm,
index, like there's an S&P 500 that follows the top 500 companies in a certain industry, and Bitcoin
yeah,
usually is the index for that. Although I like to say
absolutely, yeah.
if we didn't have Solana or Sui, I would actually say Ethereum was because of the altcoins. But Bitcoin right now is the standard for that. However Bitcoin goes, you'll even see when there's Bitcoin season. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Bitcoin season, altcoin season. If Bitcoin performs well, altcoins perform well regardless. In Bitcoin season and in
Mm.
altcoin season. Altcoins are always pumping.
Yes, it's only when Bitcoin's doing well, but obviously when the altcoins are outperforming Bitcoin, that's when it becomes altcoin season. But I believe if it does happen this year, it's going to be like a very short time frame. I don't think it'll last very long.
Well, we have to be careful with how we would define it. And none of what we say financial advice, but remember that
Of
altcoin
course, yeah.
season specifically, we did have. I mean, depending on how you define it, we did have altcoin season December 10th last year,
Mm,
2024, which is traditionally when it happens. If you do the math out, you look at Bitcoin date, having date, and then altcoin season. It started when it was supposed to start, but it was like a week long. So for me,
yeah.
altcoin season is 30 days minimum, 90 days, generally speaking, maximum. I'm not sure if you agree with that or not.
Yeah, so this is something I'd have to research a bit more in terms of how long altcoin season has lasted,
I
and
mean,
that'll
but the thing
like
is that you
give
have to
a
ask me.
better
I'm
indication.
not asking you off the top of the head. Like, what is your opinion of altcoin season? Like, what is altcoin season? Like for me, it's again 30 days minimum, 90 days maximum, generally speaking, of
Mm.
altcoins outperforming Bitcoin.
Yeah, yeah, I'd agree with you on that one. Yeah. So if it was if it was around that period, it's likely that's a range. It's likely to be the case. But then again, you never know. But at the moment, I'd say that looks about right. Yeah, between 30 and 90 days.
Okay, so
But
meme
I'd say
coin
it's more
mania.
on the lower end.
That's fine. I mean, yeah,
Mm,
honestly, for me personally, I think that we're gonna get to a point where there isn't like an altcoin season. Everything just runs in unison. I mean, you'll always have times when like Bitcoin is gonna slow down and that, but what the fact that you see that you have all these nation states buying Bitcoin specifically, and they're gonna
mm,
start buying like XRP, like Texas, for example, the state of Texas. They're not just buying Bitcoin. They're buying Bitcoin and they're
mm,
also including any crypto with a market cap over $700 billion, which right now is technically none of them. But as you see the total market cap go to 5 trillion, 10 trillion, you're going to see projects, not financial advice, like the XRPs, the Solanas of the world, basically being valued over $700 million. And you might see a situation where I'm not sure how this would work, but stable tokens might also do it too, right? And you're seeing more and more stable
mm.
tokens being printed. And when people take earnings, right? They stabilize. They put into stable tokens. You might see some stable tokens that are worth that much. So I'm not sure how that's going to work out. But anyway,
Yeah.
next topic: meme coin mania, Doge and Shiba, right? Those are the blue chips of the meme coin space. Doge is like the Bitcoin of the meme coin space, and Shiba is like the Ethereum of the meme coin space. Have been volatile with Doge showing rebound potential and Shiba burning millions of tokens. Are meme coins still a viable investment in 2025? I believe that you're still going to hear stories. You're not going to hear them now because what happened in 2021 was that you
Mm,
would hear stories. Oh, crypto is the only project that you could invest $1,000 in at the beginning of the year and make a million. Obviously, we're not going to be hear those stories in June this year. You might be hearing those stories in
yeah.
November, December this year, and you will hear those stories of people that put $1,000 and made millions. And you might hear stories of like the Shiba Inus of the world that people put in $2, $3 and literally made 8, 6, $9 million off of two, $3 investments. I do not believe in coins
Yeah.
are that. I've been saying for the longest time, people have been saying, oh, it's going to be deep in, it's going to be this, it's going to be that, real world assets. I was like, listen, when it comes to people, the best burgers in the world, I'm just giving you an example, the best burgers in the world are the Gordon Ramsays of the world, right? Those restaurants, right, that are
Mm,
pricier. Well, however, what's the number one place to buy that sells burgers around the world? McDonald's. Is it the best quality burger? No, but it has name recognition. It's easy to access. They have a drive-through and fast. Right now, I would like to say meme coins are the fast food, the McDonald's of the cryptocurrency world. So they will always have a place in the crypto
mm.
space. Your thoughts?
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree, and it's actually a good analogy and how you've explained it. So yeah, I'd say it's a good way to explaining things
All right, man. If
in
you don't
terms
like
of
them,
like
then
meme coins and the main tokens. Yeah.
yeah, you don't
Mm,
like them because they're haram, as I understand. So we won't talk about haram topics today. But anyway, stablecoin roll USDT, the US, I forgot it. Well, the one, the Tether one, the one that was listed by because of micro regulations in Europe, not England, in Europe. you guys are no longer part of the EU, is a cornerstone of the market. It still is. It is what it is. It's still the top stable token by market cap. How has its stability influenced trading and liquidity for projects like Bitcoin and Ethereum in the past year? I believe that it's influenced it in the fact that a lot of people, when they deal in cryptocurrency, they don't like to basically just put it in, especially when you deal. Okay, let's just give an example. I have a Tangent wallet. When I have a Tangent wallet, and if I don't want to bring it into an on ramp, I mean, I don't want to put it on. I don't want to move my currency, I have Bitcoin or Ethereum to Coinbase or Kraken or Binance. I want to keep it, let's just say, on my cold storage wallet. If I want to stabilize it, let's say my Ethereum investment, just for example, of $1,000 in Dogecoin goes to $1 million, I don't want to sell it. I want to just stabilize it. I'll stabilize it on my Tangent wallet, which is not centralized. I can only stabilize it to USDT, USDC, or LUSD. I can't stabilize it in cash, so it's not a centralized exchange. And you're seeing every day more and more project crypto is being more and more stable tokens are being minted, USDC specifically on Solana, which means people are basically coming into the game. And you have to understand that the best use case, in my opinion, for cryptocurrency in the long term is stable coin projects pegged specifically to the US dollar. They want them in
Mm.
Europe, they want them in Nigeria. Nigerians rather use stable tokens pegged to the US dollar for person to person peer to peer transactions. Like if they go to the market or they're buying from a gas station or buying a car or buying a house, they rather use that than the digital virtual Naira, which is essentially controlled by the government. So that's the role, bringing people on. Some people might only start using, this might be the gateway for many people. They might start using it for stable tokens. And they might say, well, instead of just having a stable token, I might as well just convert it if Bitcoin's pumping, right? That's my opinion. Go ahead.
um, yeah, so I'd say so some people may want to use the stable tokens for the US dollar, but I think other countries may want to peg it to their own like local currency if they
Oh,
believe it's
definitely,
doing well.
definitely. It'll happen.
Yeah.
It'll happen with Europe. It'll happen with Nigeria. But the thing is that they've done studies in the world, the most of the world, even
Mm.
France, Italy, Nigeria, the citizens prefer U.S. peg stable tokens. But go ahead, continue.
Yeah. But if you were to look at somewhere like the Middle East or even like China or maybe Japan, they might want to use their own stable
Oh, China,
currency.
China, cryptocurrency is illegal anyway. I mean, you can own it, but you can't buy it or sell it or swap it. So they have their own virtual currency. China is specifically only allowing its citizens to use its current stable token. That's controlled by the government. But yeah, I know what you mean. But yeah, China's a non-issue at the moment until they change the regulations. But go ahead.
Mm. Yeah, so that's sort of how I see it as like it basically it all depends on the level of trust in the US dollar. If they don't trust it, they're going to look at other alternatives. I mean, in the future, they might actually do stable coins backed on like commodities, as an example, or even like other cryptocurrencies in the future. Like, for example, it might have some.
Okay, so I'm not sure about you're freezing in and out again. Hopefully, people can still hear you. I'm just saying you like this. No, but I'm somewhat joking. But anyway, hopefully you'll come back on. You'll start moving normally pretty soon. So Crypto.com's blue chip promo highlights. So they released two promos recently for the top one. They have this promotional campaign called Top 100 Most Influential Cryptos. And this is the list: BTC, ETH, XRP, SOL, DOGE, SHIB, ADA, USDT. So those are Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Sol, Doge, SHIB, ADA, and USDT. So this is really interesting for me because I always tell people, listen, if Crypto.com, they own an arena here with one of the best basketball teams in the country, lots of concerts, Taylor Swift. And I'm not personally a fan, but there's a lot of other artists perform there. This is like the Madison Square Garden of Los Angeles. So it's not like they're owning, a park in the middle of nowhere, America. Crypto.com is a major player. So the fact that they basically highlighted these specific projects, they're looking at it like this. I talked about this on an X Space this morning. They're highlighting the projects that they believe will bring more value into their business model, which is having more people go onto their platform, buying crypto, and hence they make more money on fees, holding periods, etc. So that's how I personally look at it. USDT was interesting to me because USDT is not legal in MICA and they're based in Salvador. They've moved their headquarters, world headquarters to El Salvador. And funny thing is that the Secretary of Commerce of the United States, Howard Lutnick, his family runs his private equity firm. He no longer runs it. They run billions of dollars, and he had personal billions of dollars in Bitcoin. But they also work with USDT. Interesting, right? Their MICA doesn't all function in the US, but our Secretary of Commerce's family, he's basically signed off and said his family's handling all his business projects because that's be conflict of interest, are handling USDT. So I think that crypto.com is basically saying, listen, USDT is here to stay. But it's not about USDT specifically, but I'm just interested in the fact that they highlighted USDT. They did not highlight all USD. They did not highlight USDC, just specifically USDT. So I'll repeat the projects again, okay, that they highlighted. I call these the blue chip cryptos. You know what blue chip is, right? Well, I mean, blue chip, exactly. Yeah, like a blue chips for the audience, the blue chip stock is oh salam alaikum to Farhan. He's listening and he spoke a little he wrote a little bit in Arabic. But blue chip stocks are Amazon, Google, Meta, blue chip universities in the US are Harvard, Yale, Princeton. Blue chip universities in England are the Oxfords, right? Oxford, Cambridge, and certain Russell Group universities like the University of, I believe one of the University of, what's the capital of Scotland? Well, anyway, you know what I mean. It's the top of the top of the top. So in my opinion, they were basically releasing these promos saying they were saying we want you to these are the ones that we want in front of the marketing people that we're marketing to rather. These are the blue chip ones. Your opinion on that? Do you think that these are blue chip cryptos? You need me to repeat them again, or let's move forward? And what was interesting, by the way, is that the first promo they made, they didn't recognize Ada. The second promo, they recognized Ada, and it took Shiba out, just FYI. And they didn't have Litecoin on there either. Actually, the first one they had Litecoin, the second one they didn't, I think. But go ahead. Because you know that, by the way, that Shiba's one of my favorites, right? I just want to say that interject that Shiba's one of my favorites. So I just want to put a note that even though it's not in the top 10, it actually is consistently in the top 15, which is fascinating. It's one of the few ones that hasn't dropped out of the top 20 since it re-entered 2 years ago. But go ahead. Well, research in terms of the main projects for marketing. Remember, their marketing and their business. They basically, I wouldn't surprise me if at least, if not tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars went into picking those specific cryptocurrency projects because Remember, a lot of marketing, like McDonald's, when you see McDonald's colors, red and yellow, those specific shades of red and yellow, it makes you hungry. It makes you want to eat. Like a lot of things are basically we don't understand the subconscious marketing. So there's a reason why they chose those projects. And there's a reason why, by the way, they chose specifically to highlight to release these promos 2 days ago and yesterday. They didn't release them a month ago. They didn't release it 2 months ago. Yesterday and the day before. There's a reason for that. And I don't think it's a holy week. It's because it's Holy Week. Unless you want to tie in crypto into religion, where lots of Americans, obviously the Muslim community is different, the Jewish community is different, the Hindu community is different. But in the United States, as we speak right now, what's happening is a lot of religious leaders are beginning to adopt Bitcoin into their sermons because they believe in decentralization and now they believe that God is everywhere, right? Muslim like to say God is everywhere, the Islam religion, and that's decentralization. So they like to tie in a lot of decentralization, a lot of aspects of crypto, peer-to-peer currency, which is more of a barter system, what's used in the Bible, into biblical scriptures. But that's a different story for a different day. Number seven, DeFi and layer one growth. Sol and Ethereum are key players in DeFi, decentralized finance, and smart contracts. How have their ecosystems evolved since the halving, and are they outposing competitors like Cardano and Sui? Okay, so this is about smart contracts, DeFi growth, and specifically Solana, Ethereum, Cardano, and Sui. My opinion is Ethereum and Cardano are dying projects. Why? Because they are the same thing. Ethereum came first. Cardano was founded by Charles Hoskinson a couple of years after Ethereum launched to solve the problems that Ethereum had. It did at the time. However, your project can be the best project in the world, but if nobody's using it, nobody cares. There's no activity on it, nobody cares. The price is not going up, it's actually going down or stabilizing, which is happening as we see for both Cardano and Ethereum. However, Solana and Sui are the future. Sui's is a brand new project. It came out 2 years ago. Solana came out, was out like 2018, 2019. They didn't pick up steam until 2020, 2021. But Solana has a lot of USDC being printed on it, in addition to the fact that it is being used for meme coin mania and stable token transactions is why I got into it. Visa was piloting stable token transactions on it back in 2023. They're doing it on Ethereum, but again, there's not much activity, not like there is in Solana. Before, Ethereum was a place to make, the Shiba Inus of the world. Now it's Solana. And Sui has partnered with Solana. They're doing GameFi as well. They're making video games on Sui, but they partner with Solana and that they both are in the Phantom wallet. It's Phantom native wallet where you can buy altcoins on the Solana and Sui blockchain. So I believe Solana and Sui have done better since the halving. Ethereum, Cardano are beginning to slowly fade since the halving. Your opinion? Regulatory landscape. With XRP's ETF filings and Japan's crypto regulations recognizing Bitcoin and Ethereum, how are global policies shaping the crypto market in 2025? We already see what the US is doing with regards to crypto policy. In Canada, it's not because they're all talking about Trump, they have an election there, they're not really focusing on crypto and other policies besides just being anti-Trump at this moment. And maybe taxation, which is a problem, it's everywhere. But you're starting to see China in the past week. Apparently, everything is transparent on the blockchain, right? The blockchain never lies. You see everything on the blockchain. A few local governments, municipalities in China sold off Bitcoin in order to have cash on hand because I think they're going through an internal recession. But China, for the first time, I've been predicting this for months, for the first time, has basically people have been are starting to say that they have tons of crypto holdings. They're trying to figure out what to do with it. Are they going to have a Bitcoin reserve in a strategic altcoin stockpile like the US does, or what is the future? So now we just finally starting to see this, and the M2 money supply is increasing. Was on a crazy one. It's starting to stable off. It actually went down a little, which I didn't even know was possible because people sold off some gold. I guess they have cash in hand because they had earnings on it. We're starting to see the whole world come into this, right? As the US gets closer to regulations being passed July, August, I believe that we're going to start seeing crazy pump fest. And I just had an interview, by the way, with Dominican Republic's Bitcoin Dominicana this past Wednesday, where they're even starting to talk about building a little Bitcoin town. They've already started. They already have they've already started putting the stickers. They've already gotten some barbers, different people in the Republic that accept Bitcoin. They just sent me this morning. They sent me a website where I can pay for airline flights using Bitcoin. This didn't exist. This didn't exist 5 months. It didn't exist 5 months ago. So I think that we're going to start seeing with the regulatory landscape is going to be very welcoming to crypto because even, for example, the Dominican Republic doesn't have legal structure for cryptocurrency. People use the on-ramps in the US and they use crypto in a decentralized fashion in the Dominican Republic as we speak right now, which again, 2 years ago, things like this were unheard of. Your opinion? You like to look at charts, right, for day to day. I understand. But if you don't want to talk, if you don't I mean, it's not about politics. It's about government buying Bitcoin. Politics is election. Vote for me. Regulatory landscape is not politics. That's political landscape. Regulatory landscape are governments like the U.S. states and the U.S. federal government passing legislation to have a Bitcoin strategic reserve at the federal level. The Dominican Republic not having any regulatory landscape, which means they have no capital gains tax. That's MiCA regulations. MiCA, that's not political. That's regulations for crypto in Europe. That's what I mean. But if you don't want to talk about, I know that I'm more of a macro regulatory guy, and you're not really. That's fine. That's what we complement each other. Actually, we would complement each other better, honestly, in a boardroom, not on YouTube. Boardroom meetings aren't fun. That's why you never see them on YouTube. Okay, market sentiment number nine. Market sentiment. On-chain data shows being. Sorry. Market sentiment. On-chain data shows buying pressure from Ethereum and volatility for Dogecoin. What does this tell us about investor confidence in blue chip cryptos? What this tells me is that professional investors right now, they're buying Ethereum and they're buying Dogecoin because they believe it's going to pump. However, I just want people to be very, very wary, be very careful. Remember that in 2007, 2008, 2009, the housing market crashed in the US that caused a recession around the world. All the smart money, all the institutions got it wrong. Just because all the institutions of crypto are betting on Ethereum specifically, I know it's about Ethereum or Dogecoin. I'm not saying that I'm not going all in. I'm still sticking to my to what I know and saying, listen, I don't know. Solana has outperformed. Sui has outperformed. It will continue outperforming. I don't know if Ethereum is a good buy. Not financial advice. But my opinion is just because on-chain data shows that you have the Justin Sun's $100 million stake. You have the Trump family buying Ethereum. You have all these people buying Ethereum. Why? Because it's the thing that everybody's going to build on real world assets. that doesn't make it true because they even Eric Trump Jr., which he shouldn't have done, this was really stupid on his part, said 2 months ago, in my opinion, it's a good time to buy ETH. Thank me later. He shouldn't have not said that. He could have said nothing, you know. But like, sometimes it's better to say nothing. You have 3 million followers on Twitter that love your family and love what you do, and you don't want them to lose money because of your
Yeah.
advice. But it is what it is. I'll repeat the questions you can answer. Market sentiment. On-chain data shows buying pressure for Ethereum and whale activity for Doge. What does this tell us about investor confidence in blue chip cryptos?
Um, yes. So obviously, I know that when there's like a lot of market, I mean, buying pressure in general, like it does increase the price of like a certain tokens and
Unless it's
crypto.
Ethereum or
So
Doge, quite apparently.
yeah, it's just obviously my opinion in that it's. I mean, with Dogecoin, it's a bit more consistent with its price range, but with
Actually, it's
Ethereum, it's
not
kind
doing
of
so well
like
right now. It's actually kind of back to where it was before Trump won, to be honest with you. But go ahead, continue.
yeah. No, as in like it's gone back to that position where it's like stabilized, but it could go up in the future with Doge. Yeah, as in like it's not gonna. I don't think it's gonna go down too far. But with Ethereum, uh, that really depends on its performance with Bitcoin. To be honest, so yeah, it's only if that does well, then the other will follow. But yeah, in terms of like, investor confidence, yeah, I don't think people will see much returns that great between the two of them, and if it did, it'll take a lot more longer in comparison to like Solana and like XRP as an example.
Okay, future outlook. With Bitcoin struggling at $84,500 or so, it's always changing minute to minute. This was as of yesterday at some point. And okay, future outlook. With Bitcoin struggling at $84,500 and altcoins like Solana and XRP showing signals, what's your prediction for the crypto market's trajectory in quarter 2, 2025? Originally, they wanted me to ask about quarter 3, but I mean, we're not even done with the first month of quarter 2, so I think we have to talk about quarter 2. I personally believe
Right.
that quarter 2 is difficult because traditionally speaking, the best months for crypto, Bitcoin and crypto, especially the post-halving year, are January-ish, but definitely February, March, April, October, November are the best 5 months. I'll repeat that again. The best 5 months for Bitcoin and crypto in the post-halving year are February, March, April, October, November. The worst months are generally speaking the summer lull months, May, June. However, you see exceptions in July, August, like DeFi summer 2021, but May, June are the worst months. This
Mm.
quarter 2 is technically April, May, June. So usually we have a sell in May and go away. However, because we had a horrible February, March, as we see tariffs situation basically receding, and again we have Tim Scott, Senate Banking Committee Chairman in the U.S. Again, regulatory, not political, regulatory, saying we're going to have piece legislation on President Trump's desk by August recess. I think a recess for summer in August, which are the stablecoin piece of legislation and the Bitcoin Reserve, which basically will allow the U.S. not just to have a Bitcoin strategic reserve like it has now. It's an executive order by President Trump. It can be withdrawn from the next president, but actually written in law where he signs it and says the Bitcoin strategic reserve is for years to come until we have a law that says otherwise. And we can now buy, the U.S. will be buying around 100,000 Bitcoin to 150,000 Bitcoin per year. And this is to hold for a minimum 20-year period, basically a dead wallet. So stocks and crypto react to short-term to medium-term news. If we see more positive regulations, like for example XRP's court case, Ripple's court case in the US finally ending by mid-May, end of May, we could see a very bullish May, June, and we could see all-time highs in the end of June, going at the end of quarter 1, beginning quarter 2. Your opinion?
Um, yeah, so I haven't like looked that far into like with the market prediction. The way I sort of see it as is like anything can sort of happen in this rate. So it's like there's a lot of uncertainty with how things will be playing along. Because I know that when big institutions start like buying up a lot of these like the major like tokens and stuff, it's usually down to them whether like the price is like actually affected or not. Um, and obviously, the larger the market cap, as in how much they hold, will impact the price. So it's kind of like down to them in terms of like how much they're going to buy and whether it's directly onto the market or not, which will influence its price range. So at the moment, I wouldn't really know too sure in how it will play along. But for me, at the moment, I'm just gonna hold on to my crypto and just sort of see how that goes at the moment. That's just what I have to say.
Okay, since we are, this is not about predicting, and this is not about specifically, I guess, crypto, but I just want to say something specifically. I mean, it's my friend, so I like to use it when I'm here. But like for me, at least, we talked about we have to give fair credence to all religions. We're going to talk about religion again in September, October, when the Jewish religions happen, because that affects the markets. By the way, the I don't know if you know this, but the Jewish religions affect a lot of people that work in Wall Street, especially boutique firms. Lots of money managers. They have like five employees. They manage $2 3 billion. They break for September because of the Jewish holidays, and they're not allowed to trade. Kind of like
All right.
Ramadan, you have to adjust your schedule. So we're gonna talk about that. But this weekend's all about it's a holy weekend. Yesterday was um Good Friday. Today's whole Saturday. Tomorrow is Easter Sunday, which, as you know, you guys also to a certain extent follow the works of the prophet, as you call him, Jesus Christ. So for me, I'm fasting because I'm going through a lot of my life, and I decided I'm staying at a friend's house for the weekend. I decided that this weekend would be a great weekend for me to actually try getting off of food for a little bit, and I haven't done it in years. And I've done Ramadan
Yeah.
before. I did it in 2020, I believe. No, it was 2016 or something in China. But I just want to say that people should, if you're in the U.S., you celebrate Easter. Just use it as time for reflection. Yes, the Bitcoin halving happens to coincide, and people are saying, "Oh, is there a coincidence between the rapture and poly market odds going up and up and up that Jesus might come back this year?" And then Easter Sunday, so crypto might start booming again. Again, I don't know if Bitcoin will boom next week because of Easter. I'm just saying, but for me specifically, I think this is just a good weekend to have clarity and to start anew because I think that we're going to start seeing crypto pump again because we already have tariff clarity and the M2 money supply is increasing. And there's increasing pressure
Yeah.
on the regulatory body in the US for printing money, the Federal Reserve, to start printing money. So I believe that we're heading into a bullish era, right? You know this during the post bull market year. Maybe you don't know it. 'Cause I wasn't paying attention last bull market cycle like I am this one. This is my first real one. You have your periods, you have your seasons. It's not up, 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 right? This you got a few months of craziness, a few months of pullback, a few months of craziness, a few months of pullback. Usually, it's relaxed through election. When president comes in, you see craziness. January 20th, February, March, April, summertime. People on vacation. May, June. Last time, July, August, September, October, November.
Yeah.
Always be sharp. The past few months, we've been going crazy with content creation on here and on X. We're going to go even crazier. This is my first anniversary of doing YouTube, by the way. Thank you for joining me, Sully. And with that being said, I want to say upwards and onwards. It's been it.
No problem. See you later.